Call to order. Meeting of 5. Okay. 8:04. Where we go. Okay.
We have a lot of energy.
Right, so call to order was at 8:04. Everyone is here, so we have a quorum. And we have staff liaison here too as well, so.
The Kara is excused.
Oh, Kara's just not here. Everyone's supposed to be here. No guests, no public comments. The agenda, we won't be looking at the parcel prioritization this month, but I think we'll start it with the next meeting. August, we don't have a meeting, so we can finish it on September. That's the way it looks. So, after the vote on the meeting minutes and the real estate transfer tax. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay, and then we can talk a little bit about the web. So, did everyone get a chance to look at the minutes? I know before everyone came here, we were talking about there was a slight typo. The period and July 24th should be July 23rd. So those edits, is there a motion to adopt the minutes?
Motion to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. That's adopted. You
Okay.
ready to
Yep.
talk about the numbers?
All right, so numbers. Start on the blue side. So our total sales in the city of Kingston for May, these are May numbers. Were $11,219,163 with 47 transfers. You can see that's a lot from April and the rest of the year, frankly. Exemptions of that were 36, so total transactions paid were 11. The percentage of the transactions subject to the tax were 23.4%, and the average transaction was $1,739.01. The total amount of real estate transfer tax that we brought in May was $19,128.41. We accrued 68 cents of county interest. I don't have the city interest numbers. And so our total revenue for May, known revenue at this point, is $19,129.09, and then split into management and stewardship and land acquisition. Total amount in our real estate transfer tax kitty is $73,100.15. And so you can see the other side, just year over year or month over month. Nothing really to say, except I can't compare it to anything else because we don't have any other years, but it seems like it was going up. Wait, yes, it went up for April. And substantially down from March.
Yeah.
And I also have the actual transactions. I will pass it around. I'd like to see them.
Can I clarify something that we talked about last time?
Yeah.
So remember we were talking about if like the value, you were asking if the value, if people, I forget what it was, but like if people paid more or whatever. I did learn for like if the land bank houses that are, it's the buyer is paying a subsidized cost. So maybe the buyer is buying the house for $230,000, but the assessed value is more than the median. The land bank is paying the tax, not the homeowner. So they're paying it. This is what Owen told me. The land bank is paying on the assessed value of the home because the home cost, the buying price is subsidized. And because this is a new thing, that it's not falling onto the homeowner, the city land bank is actually paying the transfer tax.
In land bank transactions.
In land bank transactions, when the assessed value of the home is above the median. So that is assessment value, not purchase value. Yeah. Is that interesting?
Has that happened yet?
I believe so, because he said, because they hadn't sorted it out yet, that yes, the land bank was paying, yes, I do believe it happened. Because I think those houses are, they put so much work into them. But the assessed value is pretty high.
So that is the raw data,
Okay. At least money is accumulating
at least money is
at
accumulated.
a decreasing rate. I guess moving on to new business. Eli?
Yeah, so I took on the task of taking a look at whether or not there were cities as opposed to towns that we could compare ourselves to, take some guidance from. And so I have kind of accumulated a bunch of cities and towns in Massachusetts that I think are similar. And I wanted to have just like a quick conversation with everyone. I think I gave them. I'm terrible at getting stuff out. It's terrible. Yeah. Here's actually I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but it's a map of Massachusetts, and then it shows all the municipalities that have taken on their Community Preservation Act.
Whoa.
The yellows are the cities, the greens are the towns. And so if you look on the spreadsheet here, what I did was I took a look at actually this is not complete spreadsheet, sorry, sitting on my printer. So basically what I did was I took a look at the towns and cities that were close to our population is about 24,000. And so the nearest cities in Massachusetts that do this are Gloucester and Northampton. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced these. I'm not from East Coast.
It's Gloucester.
Gloucester. Oh, okay. Well, at least I didn't say Gloucester. The completed spreadsheet, and I will give it to Julie maybe, and then folks can get access to that Google sheet so you can click on these links if you want to look at it. But I did complete it, so sorry about that. So the Gloucester and Northampton as cities are a little bit bigger than us, but it probably compares. The things that I've noticed so far in looking at each of these municipalities and how they approach their CPA, a couple of things. One is there doesn't ever seem to be, so most of them have websites. And the thing that made me feel really good is Winchester, Massachusetts just started and they don't have anything up either. So we're just fine. Like there's no info. So we're just fine on that. The other thing that I noticed is that on all of these pages, it is really hard to find any evidence of an actual evaluation of the projects that have been funded and how they have changed city character. So the plans are updated annually, and the plans the plans that they produce ostensibly are to learn from past mistakes and whatever from the year before, and to kind of put out, okay, here's our vision for this year. And one of the things that was really missing is how have these projects actually preserved? It's not really outlined or made very clear. So I thought that was something that we could think about, being more specific about that maybe. Across the board, most of them refer to a plan, but some of them don't refer to their plan at all, and you can't find the plan online. It's not accessible. So that to me, that's something that we probably don't want to do. And then the other thing that I noticed is that there wasn't, there's a lot of talk of character and preservation of a community, but there's no definition actually of what that means. So when you look through the plans, when you look through the projects that have been funded, it's really hard to get a sense for what is the community that is being preserved, or what aspect of the community is being preserved. There's a lot of assumptions. And so that was really striking to me. And so it seemed like something that we might want to be more specific about. With each of these, I put out, I recorded how often they meet. So some of these meet once a month, some of them meet twice a month, if I can find that information. So we're right on track with that. Most of them actually have only one proposal due date, and then they spend the rest of the year administering that. There are a couple, and I think Gloucester is one of them, that have two periods of consideration. So I think it was like fall and the spring for Gloucester. Or Gloucester. It ranges in terms of how you can apply and when you can apply. But all of them actually had a single or a double due date. Like there was no rolling ones that I could find. With Gloucester though, they do mention having space for expedited and small projects. So I guess if something's an emergency, or they define smaller projects at some level that they don't feel needs to go through the application process.
Does Gloucester have an application?
Yes, and I have this filled out, so sorry, Bert.
Sure.
So they do have an application. Every single one of these municipalities has a pre-app and then an app. So, and some of them actually have LOI, pre-app, and then app. But I didn't see anything that was just app.
What's a pre-app, like just a screening tool?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So the prelim and some of these groups actually have someone in an office who you call first, who will then tell you how to get a hold of the application stuff. So there's some of them are a little bit more like we're really going to control who's going to apply, and some of them are, but they all are going through at least one or two checks before they actually submit a full proposal.
I was thinking with the draft application that's out there, and once I'm going to take a look at Gloucester.
Yeah.
See how they tailor it to there, because there's these Massachusetts cities are similar to Kingston.
Yeah. So I'll send you this, and the links will be there. It's really well organized in terms of how to access all of these municipalities from the centralized state level.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's how you got it.
Yeah. So I combined information about population, and I realized I should probably have looked at just overall like median income and things like that. That might also help us, but I combined population with the information of that was available on the state level, and then you can go to their website from there. It's pretty well organized for most. There are some where Hingham, is it Hingham? It's a little bit hard to figure stuff out, and so is Canton a little bit. Yeah, so I think those were the things that I wanted to highlight. And then because I'm not from the East Coast, and I think that Massachusetts continues to be a total, I don't understand Massachusetts at all. If you, aside from, in addition to not being able to pronounce the names of the municipalities, but if there are municipalities here or not on here that you would say are similar in character to Kingston or similar in whatever ways, I can absolutely research those and provide information on that.
Well, they're towns, or I don't know, they're considered cities in the Pioneer Valley. That
Okay.
when you talk about Northampton and Westfield, they'll have similarities to upstate New York cities like Poughkeepsie.
Yeah.
Poughkeepsie has Vassar. Northampton, I think, has La Holyoke, or Holyoke, one of the Holyoke. Sure.
Smith College.
Smith College. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's similar. And we share same NPR.
Oh, well, there you go.
There,
Okay, there you go.
out of Albany. So the Hudson Valley Bureau, Pioneer Valley Bureau. So
All right.
Pittsfield's a little bigger than
Yeah.
us. Gloucester's a good example. Even though it's a coastal city in terms of size and, we were hit hard by IBM. They were hit hard by changes in the fishing industry. So they've had to
Yeah.
reconstitute, go into tourism and stuff. I spend time in Massachusetts, family friends, so.
Yeah, okay.
So this is a great, these are great examples. I had no idea that you were well into this.
Yeah, and have millions of dollars in there, damn it.
Well, that's the other thing. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing that I wanted to point out is I also figured out their yearly income or recorded their yearly income as like a range of what they bring in, and we seem to be. I think we're probably on track to at least be like Hingham or something like Canton. So it seems like, you know, from like if I were to just project based on what we've seen so far, it seems like we're not actually the smallest of these towns and cities that are close to our population.
The yearly income, is the total revenue the amount they brought in to date, or has they not over to date? Okay. Because I guess I was first looking at that and saying, it's a lot of money, but when you look at the yearly, it's actually not far off from what we would expect.
No, it's not. Yeah, I think we're.
And they've been around for 20 years, those Easton and Fairfield.
Right.
You made a good point. I mean, when we finally have to administer these funds, maybe having one or two due dates a year
Yeah.
and some room for exceptions.
Yeah, I think, and we can, I think Gloucester will probably get some more details on that. I can deep dive on that because, yeah, I think that's probably, I mean, it would be a good way to start at least, but they do too. And maybe if we start out with one, can always change how we do things in the next year, but.
On their websites, I mean, I guess we can talk about that when we talk about websites, but like, how much of this did you get? You got this from their individual websites?
Yeah, so I went to the centralized and then the centralized, then you can get to their website.
Okay.
The centralized has information like the yearly income and the total revenue that they have. And then you can click to their website to get the other details. So you get the proposal, you can take a look at the proposals, you can look at the plans, if they have updated on some. You know, there's one that only has a plan for 2019, you know, so there's clearly differences in how they make that available, even though it's required. Yeah, so you could take, so all these web pages here, and I do have Gloucester and Northampton and Stilton.
I never heard of this.
Stop. Oh, of course. So yeah, so I've got those two, so you could just click on that. So if you're thinking about the website, there are definitely some that are better than others. There's some that are just the web page, and there's like, oh.
I'll do my own book.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And but particularly Gloucester and Northampton, I may randomly pick some of these other Western
Sure.
Mass towns, just to look for questions on the application or what may end up being a pre-application.
Well, yeah, for those, it seems like the pre-application, some of them are actually an LOI, just more structured.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Some of them are really specific. They've got that chart of what you can fund and what we can't fund. And you have to go through that chart and make it very clear. This is where I'm asking for, and it says yes in that box that we will fund something like that. So it's like making sure that they actually are eligible, making them make the argument, and then we.
Yeah, I think because we have to make sure that they are eligible, the letter of interest may not be
No,
best for us.
yeah. So the structure part might be good, yeah. But again, I don't know if it's because this is in the end a cities thing, so the city would be excited to talk about it, but I was really, you know, there's some of them, like maybe 3 of them have a list of, or you can clickable list of projects that they funded in the past, but most of them, it's totally opaque. And so it's not, so on the one hand, you know, it shouldn't be opaque, it should be transparent, and also it seems like a missed opportunity to be really excited about what's happening, you know, and what this fund is helping to do to get the word out. So there's more people saying, here's what I want to do, you know, here's what I want to do. Anyway, so
Did you get the impression that that's because they haven't actually done anything?
I don't know. I
I
have
hope
no idea. No, I'm sure they are. I'm sure it's doing something. So, but yeah, there's not, and I think that has to do with, maybe it's about time. no time to go back and evaluate, okay, we funded that 2 years ago, it's done, we're moving on. We're not gonna think about what actually happened. So it might be a time.
Could you get the impression of how many of these folks have paid staff?
Oh, yes, there are a couple. I think Gloucester does. Because I think Gloucester's the one that you call and say that you have a chat.
But that could be like a person like Julie, who's
Right.
a city employee
Right.
with many jobs.
Yes.
Oh, right, yeah, that totally matches.
Is the Community Preservation Coalition, that's in Massachusetts based only?
Yeah.
Do you know what year the state passed the law?
I think it's 2000. Oh, I'm not sure. It was a long time ago. I
Okay,
mean, based on this, it was
The
at
first
least
one.
2001, yeah. I can't remember now. I can find that out too.
oh, that's it, just curious.
And the reason why I didn't set out to do Massachusetts, but Massachusetts is the only other state that does it. Didn't know that.
Wait, is that
Maybe you guys
true?
knew that. I cannot find any evidence of anything that is even like this anywhere else.
Oh.
So I mean, and maybe California has something and they name it something totally different that I can't find.
Well, Massachusetts is a lot like New York.
Yeah.
You have, the downstate New York and its suburbs and Boston and the towns and cities around it. And then you have another area that's more rural. So I mean,
Yeah.
Western Mass are always talking about that they get short shrift, state funding. So it's kind of a similar upstate New York or downstate New York dynamic.
It also was cracking me up looking at the percentages that the rates that were passed, and the rates, it seems to be a little political, of course. But that was the other thing that I was curious about. Some of them have full on 3%. So that's why they have such huge funds and whatever. And they've been doing that since years almost. But that to me communicates a different kind of character of the city in general. I don't know. So I thought it was interesting just to let you all know that there's like a range in rates, and I'm not sure what the politics are behind it, but it does, it does make a difference in terms of their.
Well, Yarmouth is how we cave and it's wealthy and
Yeah, I'm like, we are not Yarmouth. That's the one that doesn't. Anyway, I apologize for bringing the wrong spreadsheet, but can I just send it to you, Julie? and
Sure.
Sarah, and
Okay. What is neighborly?
Oh, that was the other thing, neighborly. So, there are some that are filled out. Wow, aren't they? I mixed them up. Okay. So if there's some that do have Gloucester, are there some that do have Gloucester? Oh, there are some. You guys have.
What?
Yeah. There's one that's filled that doesn't have this part, but there's one that does some stuff. There's different.
So I have the ones for.
Oh, neighborly, okay.
So neighborly is used by.
I don't have.
I don't have it, I just remember.
Oh, like my memory is so, no, that's okay. So neighborly, oh, sorry, folks. Yeah, I have different. Neighborly is an app that helps Gloucester manage the application process. So in order to look at their application, you go onto Neighborly, and Neighborly helps them manage it. That's as far as I've gotten. So it might be, I put that in there because it might be something we want to look at. Maybe it helps save time. I don't know if it's a paid subscription kind of thing, but it seemed like a time-saving option. So does anyone, what are they called? At BART, we have a similar kind of thing that manages hiring processes, just puts everything in one place, has access to it. You can make comments and you can see them. And so I don't know if that's what Neighborly does with that.
They may use other boards. They have, like applications and information.
Yeah. But they were the only one that mentioned anything that was close to something outside of the process of just submitting it to the city.
Okay.
Is there anything else I put on there that I haven't talked about? Jeez.
Well,
It makes it more interesting.
Yeah, sure. Some insight into why I'm disorganized.
And in addition to what research you'll do.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take my own look into
Yeah.
cluster
Should.
and figure out if there are additional questions that we can put to really tailor it.
I'll compare the application, yeah.
For like a city of 24,000
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Because right now the application is designed to really, collect information that you would expect to be collected, given what's written in the plan and in the law that was passed.
Yeah.
So it's, the AI read those two documents, put that together.
Yes, it did.
But, basically, like you said, it's a kind of a one size fits all. We need something a little better.
Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. It does, so, you know, like we've done, the websites, many of them are kind of boilerplate and they seem like there was a central, here's what your website could look like, maybe CPC put it out for them. So many of them just follow the same template. And then the applications are often the exact same. It's changed it to the name of their.
Oh, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering if there was just a universal template that they put together.
Well, they're, I mean, I think every one of them was a little bit altered, but they do just, I mean, they've just taken on what everyone else does, like us. And that's smart when you're first starting out, but I do think it's also something that is something that we can think about in terms of what is it about Kingston that makes us different, and how do we communicate that part? Because I think that's why the character piece is really missing, the description of what community are we preserving and how does that actually play out? I think because it's not on these templates, because they could,
They're both.
It's almost like we started doing like a mission statement or something to then see what.
yeah, and communicate to folks too,
Yeah.
because that is how, I'm sorry I missed the last meeting, being in Portland, but that is how we will be evaluating. So what our mission, communicated or not, will be what we are evaluating each application on. So stating it properly would be helpful. Because I think there's just a lot of assumptions, like we're preserving communities.
Bjorn, did you go to the Community Preservation Coalition?
Yes.
Massachusetts?
Yes, that's
Good, yeah, I found
That's
that
the source.
on that
Yeah.
side, yeah.
Yeah, and so you can see
Yeah.
revenue for each.
Yeah, they had each 201
Yeah.
some odd.
Yeah.
Additional for what's on here and
Yeah.
with the waves and all that.
So, okay, so it sounds like we want to know more about Gloucester
Gloucester
and Northampton.
Northampton.
North end.
Is this, the designation of a city versus a town is a federal definition? Is that true?
I have.
It'd be a state definition and state law,
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's the US Census. So, metropolitan areas, non-metropolitan areas, like I said. And It's
It's okay.
But yeah, like, you know, in New York City, you have city, village, and town,
right.
from state halls.
Mhm.
I was thinking maybe it was just a cutoff of 30,000. I don't know.
No, because Northampton is below.
Yeah.
Most towns in New York have more people than we do as a city.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess in terms of a real difference between city and town, it's not communicated in the ways that the web pages describe the information that's provided. So there isn't, and I think it's because of the boilerplate thing, there isn't real, I couldn't see a real difference besides there being a staff member to call with Gloucester, and that was it.
I would be interested also, so Gloucester's kind of suburban, to look at something that's like as dense as Kingston is, because we don't have a lot of living green space, whereas like Gloucester kind of does, so.
Yeah.
Maybe looking at something that has most of the city space.
Yeah. Jamie have a suggestion.
I mean.
It doesn't have to be on this list, actually, but these are the ones that are closest to our population. It
Right,
can go up or down. I
okay,
have an idea.
Lowell might be,
I was looking at that, okay.
Lowell's very different from Kingston.
No, I know, I just went along.
Oh.
But it has the
But it's
density
like
that you're talking
the
about?
cityscape
Yeah,
feel that.
okay.
it's that
Okay.
intensity.
Yeah,
And they have like the historical structures.
oh, right, right, okay.
Well, why wouldn't we look at Boston? Because, well, let's just think of this. So you frame this as, let's look at communities that are closest to us in population,
Yeah,
but is population as important as what land our community has?
yeah, not necessarily,
Open
yeah,
space versus non-open space?
yeah,
I mean, to me, I would think more of cities being valuable to compare as in mostly developed, not a lot of undeveloped space, regardless of the number of people who are living there.
okay. So that would be clearly Boston. Are there other?
So what's the-
You might as well look at Pittsfield.
Okay. Field. So mostly developed,
I mean, what about Springfield?
okay,
Would that's also lower income?
yeah, all right. Yeah, absolutely. So, so the next step is looking at, mostly developed, not a lot of open space. That's kind of where the next path, okay.
So it's been Gloucester, Lowell, Boston, Springfield, Pittsfield.
And is this the information that I have on the spreadsheet? Is this enough to help? Or are there other things that I could be grabbing that?
You said something about area.
Northampton.
Yeah, that's, yeah,
We say, I heard. Worcester.
yeah,
Say Worcester?
yeah.
Worcester.
Also, does it make any, it doesn't matter, like, places that are along the river?
Okay, yeah.
Significant factor in where we live?
I don't know. Coastal communities are. Because I spent a bunch of time in Onset, Massachusetts. And it's, I mean, they have little marinas,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that tie up to the ocean.
There's like Great Barrington area. There's a bunch of, I'll take a look.
And maybe Fall River in New Bedford. So
Yeah, okay.
pretty soon we'll be looking.
Yeah,
That's okay. That's
I
fine.
put it including but not limited to, so.
Yeah, okay,
Come
yeah.
up with something later on.
No, that's
tomorrow,
fine.
Next day.
Yeah.
Just jump in.
we wouldn't, the way I see it is that September would be the next time we talk about this,
Okay,
because
Sure.
next month we want to get Kara back here and we can begin the prioritization
okay,
and have to continue that into the fall. if We have to.
okay,
August we're off because at least 3 of us will be.
sure.
So it gives you some time, gives us also notice to do.
That, I'm sorry, that reminded me of one other thing I wanted to mention, which is that there are, so some of them meet monthly, some of them twice a month. Some of them meet monthly and only through certain times, like September to January. There are a couple of others that just have certain, so there's no meetings while applications, I guess, are being generated. And even, it seemed like while the preliminary stuff happens, but then the meetings happen. And it looks like it's really concentrated, and then December it goes to the,
So it's more like a review committee or
Yeah.
something at that point, because they've gotten everything in place and now they just.
review the. I just want to bring it up.
So that's something this board will have to decide.
Yeah.
On schedule, yearly schedule.
It might be also good to look at if it's easy to find a community that was established in like 23.
Okay, more recently, yeah.
Because a lot of these are well established.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is so interesting that they don't say what they've observed.
Yeah, I'm gonna pay more attention to that and see if I can get like links for that too. So the ones that do can take a look at how they do that.
Yeah, I'd be interested in looking about the website to see how much information they're disclosing. Like, are they putting like what the transactions were?
Yes, several of them do, not all of them. And I put that down too with the towns. I bet they don't have time and they don't have staff.
Yeah.
So they aren't gonna do that, but there are several that I think Gloucester does. I mean, they have the,
But do they have like Johnny bought this property?
oh,
No, that's the public.
okay, that's what, yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah,
there's.
but there are income expense that will be.
Okay, yeah. that's- okay.
Another.
Julie, is there currently on the city website a page about the?
No.
Nothing,
There is nothing.
okay.
We have to talk about that.
Yeah.
But that, okay, that's the website you're.
We're in the
talking about, okay.
development phase, yeah. So,
I mean, there is, let me not say that there's nothing. There is, community preservation plan, page on Engaged Kingston. And actually, I can bring it up. I don't know when we're transitioning to web page development, but,
Oh, that's. What. No, it did not.
You can do that right now.
Oh, I see it.
if we're doing that now, then I will share my screen. So this is engagekingston.com and there's community preservation plan.
okay.
And this has been up through the whole process of the community preservation plan. So the most up to date, you'll see on the left, it has just this little thing about it went into effect on December 15th, 2025. This is where the tax form can be found. If you want to serve on the board, click here. And then this is essentially what happened on December 15th, 2024. Applies to all property conveyances. And then the rest of it is about the act, and our plan is on here. And what the legislative elements are of the community preservation plan, how it identifies priorities, what it can't be used for housing, but we're doing all these other great things related to housing. And it can't be used for sewer and stormwater, but we're doing all these other things related to sewer and stormwater, and it can't be used for road improvements, but we're doing other things. Final plan is here. And then on the right-hand side, it has, here it is, here it is. Get rid of that. Right in the way. Current status, this was, so, the way that these projects are set up is that it kind of standard across all projects. So again, this was put together with the plan itself as the project that got this present on this page. So the key dates were related to the project itself, meaning that project is actually done because the plan is done. But you can see the final plan, the public draft, the slide deck with the speaker notes, the public meeting presentation, and the script and translation. There's always a who's listening, meaning like, hey, I want to know more about this. Who should I talk to? And in this case, it's me, Julie, my phone and email. And then you can see the video of the presentation. And the project advisory committee at the time for that project, which was the people who developed the community preservation plan, is on here. And then FAQs, what's in a plan, what's the difference between an open space plan and community preservation plan, why do it, what can it be used for, and then a link to our open space plan, significant habitats maps, preliminary natural resource maps, climate action plan, first and the second, and there's probably more, and there's no news. This discussion is concluded.
Well, I mean, a lot of that, just go right on the webpage. I mean, a lot of that is what I saw on each of these web pages.
Okay, so there's a couple things that can be done. Because I'm surprised that, so we have a mitigation director, Summer Smith. At some point, she'll be like, can I take this page down? Is this project done? So I'll need to decide. Okay, so a couple things that can happen. A, this could live on here in perpetuity on Engage Kingston, and I would build onto this as the page that it would be.
Mhm.
And so I would put on like, I would surmise like all of you would be on here, your terms, whatever you all decide that we want to put in whatever presence, we could also pull off and archive anything that's not like super relevant to right now. That's an option. A second option is I take what's relevant from here and move it over to the city's website itself, create a separate page, and then add the other things that we want, and then sunset this page. I could also just start from scratch, and I don't know why I would do that, but like build a new page and keep this also forever. I mean, there's a lot of things that could be done. But this does exist. And at some point, I'm going to be asked, do we still want this here or do we not want this?
Yeah.
But this is not on the city's webpage. This is on Engage Kingston. And actually, I can bring up the city's webpage to see where we might want to.
You could just have like very basic stuff on the city's webpage.
It could also be on the city's webpage and then redirect to here. Or whatever. So what's the
Yeah, I think all the ones that I looked at in city's website were posted. And then there was a link to the actual plan, which is a PDF.
All right, so go to the city's webpage, and we go to government services. On the left-hand side, there's a couple options where it could live. It could live under, it might even be already. No, I didn't put it on here. It could live under boards and commissions. It could also live under energy and sustainability. All of the work that I do is under energy sustainability, but all the boards are under boards and commissions. So like CAC is here, Climate Smart is here. There's no universal, like this is how it should look if it's under a board, but there are functionality like, is the CAC? What are some links? How do you get to my minutes?
Yeah.
Reports, who do I contact? Who's the staff support? No. I'm not a robot. I want to sign up to learn more information. These are my people. This is our logo. That's kind of the standard, like, board page. Pretty standard. But if you want to be on the energy sustainability page, this is kind of just more wordy, and it would probably be under like land use. Would not be intuitive to do it this way. But this is where all the open space stuff is. Or we could also bury it here. We want to bury anything, but there's a natural resources inventory page, which is under, has all the work about the open space plan, our progress on it. And then back to the natural resources inventory. This was all foundational to where we are now. This also could be linked on a page that we have just for Community Preservation Advisory Board, which lives under the boards and commissions tab.
I was just thinking that the boards and commissions, menu items. Like we could do one of those.
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, that's,
And then there could be a link to the Engage Kingston so people can
okay.
get the context.
Yeah, that would be the obvious convention that we would choose. So I would set up a page and it would be like 2 columns. Let me see what Climate Smart is set up. The Climate Smart is set up kind of the same way. There's like additional links on the right-hand side. And so you get to minutes and notes, things. There's a mission and vision. If we wanted to like gather people's information about something about the history, the people who are on it. We're amazing, sign up for our mailing list. I'm not a robot. So, I mean, the board pages are not long. But they mostly have like, for more information, click on these other links.
That's kind of, that is
Yeah, that's it.
similar to what I've
Right,
seen.
that's really all we need.
But some of them, I really like the extra description of and kind of summarizing of the plan in the Engage Kingston part.
Yeah.
think preserving that is really important. I did not see that on any other site.
Yeah, I mean, this frankly, I think was pretty well done. But we put a lot of time and effort into this because it was ultimately having to have to vote and essentially with conviction. And that's why we also went to this whole thing about like, what can it not fund? And that's why there's this huge section about housing and stormwater and road stuff, because we got a lot of questions on that. So, I mean, if this, I would say, for ease of me and this process, if I could migrate the most relevant of this information over and just create another page on the city's website, sunset this, or if someone wants to keep it, you can keep it, but like, she can archive this page, and then I would just pull it over and then add the information. So in addition to the relevant things on here, what else do we? I mean, but did you see things like this, like this link?
Yeah, but not on a monthly basis. Okay, was, yes, I think it was like that. I think the one that I saw was and so we wouldn't have much to show. But that was an annual, here's how much we got in, here's how much we granted for each year.
Okay, so there's not, you didn't find a lot of granularity at all.
I'm sorry.
Granularity.
No, I think it's up to us. I don't think that, it doesn't seem like super transparency is the secret approach, but I think some
Super transparency is out.
Yeah, so we can expand on what we see. I think we can see that as like a starting point. One of the things that we might want to do too, and occurred on some of the websites, is that when you go to download the application document, there's also preservation plan. The most recent preservation plan is there to download as well. It's like a big super hint that you better be reading that. And I noticed that there are a couple of municipalities that, like us, also want people to look at the open space plan and these other plans that are relevant. So we probably want links to those on the site.
So, a list of stuff you named, projects funded in the past. Our application, frequency, whether it's twice a year or whatever. The application itself, whether it's a letter of interest or pre-application and an app. Our plan. What communities we're preserving, so mission statement, I think you named. And what we're evaluating each application. So I guess that's sort of the same.
So prior to thank you for summarizing that. Prior to having some of those things, assuming we want me to still start just switching this over and then populate it as we have more, or like there is an emission statement.
Yeah, no, I think we
Put
really,
that on next month's agenda.
The board is put together to develop recommendations on how to spend a lot of funds. Right off the bat, that's our role.
Yeah.
So, and then they can read more on what this funding will actually
Right, okay.
be used for,
Yes.
can be used for.
So should I put a placeholder for an application or like an
A
application
placeholder.
is in development?
Yes.
Yeah. And the criteria are in development.
I think you can describe, say we voted it in on this date. The board was appointed on this date, and for the next 6 months, we're doing this. Right, and like, I think there's.
Is everyone okay with their name being on the page?
Yeah.
So no one else wants their contact information or anything on
No.
Just me, right?
Has anyone contacted you yet?
I did hear at the meeting last night, the Kingston Housing Task Force had a listening session last night, and someone mentioned that they went on, I guess, at the page for the Community Preservation Board, and they noticed that we weren't accepting applications yet, or that there wasn't any information about it. So people are looking, I guess they're waiting for us. You're own bit.
In demand.
I mean, do we want to make a deadline that we can
No.
communicate?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Do you want me to set up so you may have, I may have said it for both Climate Smart and CAC, we have like want to join our mailing list? Meaning find out more things if I have to put out a note about something, which is rarely ever do I ever do that. But did you communicate to people? Do we want to gather information like that?
I mean, it seems worthwhile if there are people interested,
Right.
property owners or whatever, like. What do we want to know that? How do they, yeah,
And that way we can announce deadline when we decide on it.
Right.
Oh, yeah, sign up for, yeah.
I mean, is this eager person be first to sign up?
Yeah, I will say that, one of the things I do send out, at least one communication a month, because I do send out the meeting announcement to that. So for Climate Smart, I have hundreds of people on the mailing list. For CAC, I have like 2, but we established it like a couple years ago, or a couple of weeks ago, established it. The CAC has been born since like 2007 or something ridiculous, but we only started the mailing list. But what I'm getting at is that I don't know how many people are gonna want to come to an 8 AM meeting and be present, but more and more people will be aware of things.
Yeah.
Directly.
I'm gonna ask a rhetorical question. I don't expect an answer. But, my impression was that, once there's enough funding in the total revenue here, the city may want to be reimbursed for the bond that they took out on the, which sort of puts everybody else in the second position behind the city in terms of priority. Do you follow what I'm saying? Yeah, okay. I'm not sure if that's where everybody's understanding is, or that was mine. And again, it's a rhetorical question, don't answer it.
If I were answering it, I would say that is the assumption that this administration is moving under, yes.
Yeah, and I've been approached by, owners and, other people interested as well, this grab me, going into Monkey Jones or something, or rough perhaps, start talking about different sites and what's. I mean, that's a thing, it's out there, so I don't know if other people are getting that, but it's a thing.
Can you remind us how much?
440.
Okay. Marianne?
I mean, so that might be something we just need to communicate on the webpage too. I mean, if we decide that, we need to say, we're doing this to pay off the bond, so in 2 years, we're gonna open for business or something. Or we could say a percentage of, we're gonna be giving a percentage of the total to the city, so we have this much to disperse, I don't know. But it does kind of mean we wouldn't be doing applications for a while.
Right.
With this rate, that would take us 2.5 years.
Speaking of rates, I have a question about, as I look at this list here. It just seems like some people are paying us one amount. It doesn't seem consistent. For instance, like someone who has a purchase of $496,000 paid $893, and then someone, $620,000 paid $2,400. It just seems like the ratios are not the same. So I was just wondering about that. How do they determine? I mean, I thought that once someone paid, it was exactly
1.25%.
right. But it seems like,
I mean, we should be able to calculate that. We should be able to take their sale price minus 425
yeah.
and then times 1.25, and we should then be able to know the number.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for instance, this person's amount was $432,000, and their tax was $93, and someone else's purchase was $487,000, and their tax was $777. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, how did this person get to do $93, and this person had to pay $700? And then there's another $425,000 who only paid $50.
Well, I think there's two things at play here. One is questioning we have not yet, this group has not yet, and I have not yet questioned the county. I haven't done any quality control on their information. I haven't looked back on like, is this legit? I haven't felt like I guess I just trust them. And I don't know that our comptroller is doing that either. We're just given this information, we take it for what it is. Does this board want to do that? Or does this board want me to do that?
I'm not sure at this present moment that I'm saying it's not legit. But I am just,
Yes, I did. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great.
So not, at least these last two works out.
oh, the last two,
Yeah.
$93.
Yes. Yeah, because remember, we're subtracting out the 420, but that's.
They only pay the tax on the amount that's above the median.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you want to throw a name at me, I can we'll pull an actual deed and, RP 5217 form, and see what they actually did at the closing.
Okay, with that being said, I mean,
I mean, I guess it just comes down to, is that what's happening, how many transactions a month? 47, the average of 50 transactions a month. So I'm just looking at, I mean, we did talk about this briefly at the last meeting, is that, do we want me to be going back to the county and saying, why were these people exempt? That's my bigger question. It's like, well, why are these people exempt?
Yeah, so she's a $1 million one from last
Yeah.
month.
And there's a few on here too that are.
I think one of the ones from last month, was a nominal transfer, like they were transferring it to somebody in the family or to a trust or something like that. Estate plan.
That doesn't count?
There's no consideration. So it's $1.
Oh,
Well, like there was a purchase. I mean, it was listed as over $1 million, not like.
Yeah, but I'm not sure it was a true arm's length transaction, that's what we're getting right.
Okay.
Again, that's why I would go here,
Uh-huh.
that's the deed thing, second floor of the county building.
Maybe after the meeting is over, say transaction you want someone to look at, we can do that.
but yeah, that's what we're talking about. the last-
Yeah, well, that's what this would.
I know you want to
Right.
now.
Oh, you can look on there to see why they were exempt?
Well, you can look to see what documents were recorded at the closing. That's what you can do. And that should have
What are you looking at?
the county clerk, the second floor deed
The
office
land records online.
online, yeah.
Okay.
And it's
On the office, the county office building, second floor. They have their records online.
we can study documents.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but I wouldn't have to like
You can go down
call
rabbit hole.
Taylor and stuff, here, don't know about this one. I can
Well-
look it up myself. Somebody on this.
That's what I was gonna do. If you threw a name at me, I'll look it up and tell you, or
Well,
can
maybe we shouldn't. say
go back to
that.
that. Yeah, maybe not on this one.
Monies are accumulated. They are accumulated. If people don't feel like they're accumulating fast enough, I don't know what to say.
We should,
I guess it's just a curiosity around the process since this is all new for us.
Yeah, okay.
It's just like, oh, how do people get exemptions and how do you qualify for an exemption? And
But my concern for the sport is if anyone asks, no one's trying to pull the wool over because we're broadcast live.
Yeah.
And all these documents are out there. And then
yeah, I don't think that. I just want to start.
Yeah.
people out in the community, we had someone, Carol Lee, who talked about it took them close to a year to get up and running before they could start doling money out.
Okay.
And so we're doing the responsible thing. But I hear you, that people are thinking, why do you think doling money out right now? Just it is what it is, we're getting our bearings.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, one of the only thing that's red flagging for me, and I fully acknowledge that, like, it's throwing money. This is me gonna circle back to the clerk's office, but one of the platforms we ran on was like, oh, if we had it by now, we would have earned over $1 million, like, we'd be getting $1 million a year. And that had to have come from something, and this is not the trajectory to the area dollars.
No,
This is for 75.
I guess it's like,
Well, there-
in general, looking at the total amount that was sold the year, let's say, which like this, there's so many exemptions on here.
Right,
I guess people didn't take into consideration all the exemptions that would have been.
or
I could've-
our real estate
yeah, that's,
is really down.
I would be curious to see, I know it doesn't exist, but just like total sales and transfers from previous years,
Right.
because maybe the number, because I mean, we've had 11 million 3 months for total sales, so that can't say that's an average, but
Yeah.
like there's 3 months of that consistent number. So yeah, it would be interesting to see this from like 2021, 2022,
Right.
and then if it is slowing down. I mean, I do think there's less stuff available because,
There's no question it is slowing down, because people were, you know, flying like bats out of hell out of New York City and both. Like the pandemic.
yeah,
It's, the interest rates, it's just, I know people are trying to buy into this. It's just, you still have high prices and you have high interest.
Would it be possible for us to ask the county clerk to come and talk to us about how it's done, how it's administered?
I think that's a good idea.
Because then we can know what we should be paying attention to.
Or could be asking,
Yeah,
or other communities are asking. That's up to you. I don't get it.
Right, we need to be focused, other than like, about, we should be able to tell to the tax assessor basically, how come this doesn't make sense, that's this particular type of transaction, can you explain this and walk us through this? Because tax assessments are pretty complicated. I sat through a tax assessment seminar on agricultural tax assessments at Cornell Cooperative Extension. And I found out that maple sugaring operations have certain advantages in this process that other types of farms don't. And that at certain times you tax the land underneath the building, you don't tax the building, and it's very situation specific. So I'm saying we could be going down a rabbit hole, and we may not get all the answers we want. We may be even more confused.
I think I would just be interested about like, tell us what the process is.
yeah.
How do you review this? Is more than one person doing it?
Yeah.
Are you sending out like, can you tell us, do we have access to why things are exempt? Would you have us rather look it up or can we ask you?
Contract date was before December 15th.
Still, people get your act together.
I would ask them what,
Yeah, just wrapping our head around the basics.
Right, like,
That's it.
are you tracking it or are we tracking it? How should
Should
I
we be-
communicate
yeah.
with other people in other communities?
I would just think to ask what's going on in case. Why are certain properties going to be exempt? And why are we seeing the differences? And then just keep it there.
I mean,
Um,
I also think maybe that could be an email, like, I don't know, do they need to come?
I don't know how much it's
Taylor's
you dive
diving
in.
at it, but.
I think I could get to the bottom of every one of those if I spent enough time to get.
Okay, so on that one.
Then it becomes shadow county clerk, they'll have it.
That's why I'm like, why not talk to them?
Yeah, but so.
Find out what are they doing and what should we be paying attention to? Like, what's our part of the due diligence and, because everyone's got that.
Yeah, and Bert's point's very well taken, the complexities of assessment.
You know, what are we ultimately asking to change? What are we unhappy about? Because that's what it sounds like to me. What do we?
Oh, no, nothing.
We just want to know.
We're unhappy because we don't know.
All right, fine. So you want to get educated and
Julie just asked me for a specific property. I looked it up. It was a December 6th contract date. It says it right in the closing documents, December 6th, 2024.
I mean,
So therefore it was exempt.
Exactly.
All right.
yeah, so I mean, we're still in that sweet spot apparently where people are still lingering on contracts.
I did notice that for most of the, so if you look at the whatever it is, CDC, the website that has everyone, connects us to everyone, usually the first number is smaller than the rest, but not always. I think it's common when they first start this.
I don't know what, let's bring in the tax assessor. I don't know where this conversation is going. I don't know what we're driving at.
We just
If
want
you want, just want a general idea of how these are done, and
Yeah.
we just found out just by researching one, you know, they just missed us by a couple of weeks, you know, but 2025 by a couple of weeks, so there's your answer. We
Yeah.
closed in what, October?
I think it was May, some, middle of May.
So maybe what was December 6th?
December sixth, closed in May, it looked like.
Closed in May.
Well, if
Yeah,
we're not
it
gonna
appeared
put
on the main
maybe
sheet.
we can go with a detailed email, just to make sure that all of these exemptions are really just coming from dates.
Yeah.
And if it's more complicated and or involved in that, then
Some could be nonprofit groups.
I don't know.
It could be a variety of things.
Oh, I mean, if you want to know what's exempt, the legislation, which we all have, has a very explicit list of who gets to be exempt. There's also a form on the county's page. And when you fill it out, you have to click, like, I'm exempt because of this. I can tell it, and that can be something that we can review at a future meeting as well.
Well, that's interesting too, like, just because they click it, is that being scrutinized, like, to test that they actually do meet the criteria?
Right.
Is somebody double checking that, or is it just if they say they're exempt, they're exempt?
Well, first you have a title company and two lawyers.
Okay.
Lawyer representing each party.
Okay.
The title company isn't gonna go to the clerk until they got this thing sorted out.
Uh-huh.
They don't wanna get bounced out and look bad.
Uh-huh.
It's not.
Right, so
professional.
there's people, it's not just like
Yeah,
one
Right.
person
And then the
clicking
clerk
about.
looks at it, when the title person submits it for recording, and then they review it.
Actually,
And they do bounce things sometimes. If
Okay.
Once it's filled out, I go, to do all of it.
How, it's 9:10.
Yeah.
3 minutes to kind of wrap things up. Last 20 minutes, talk about the next couple of months. We can revisit this. I'm reluctant to put it as an agenda item to drag, I mean, we just want to know about exemptions, it's an email.
Or review the law too.
Because I'm
I
not,
would think that if we're a steward in this process, we want to know as much about it as possible.
well, I agree.
That we're just not, coming up with our own assumptions. It just seems fundamental to me.
Yeah.
That's fine.
What is your-
We don't have to put it on the next agenda. We
Yeah.
can do it in the future.
We can do it in the future when we have a better grasp of what we're trying to get at.
Mhm.
just quickly, this is the literal form that people have to fill out. And there's part 2 is all the exemptions. All these exemptions are reasons why people don't have to pay. If they click one of those, then they don't pay. So
I
they're not gonna want to get into this now.
And just to come back, I mean, if we could get this from previous years, the total sales, I think that would be interesting to look at.
So I will try to get this information from previous years, and I'll also bring copies of that form for next.
What's that for?
That is so when you go to the counties, that is our city transfer tax form, the city of Kingston transfer tax form. So when you go onto the county's clerk's recording a deed page, and you go to, there's a section called transfer tax for city of Kingston only. And so we have our own transfer tax form, and that is where it has everything you have to fill out.
Okay, for, I guess, the July meeting, with the normal rep report, just bring some copies, how far back? How easy it is to go back for
Right.
prior years?
These numbers are calculated by me, so I don't, it's not like easy. Oh,
Oh my God, oh Julie,
this is done by Julie, and these numbers are calculated by me getting this thing to get in a calculator, putting these numbers
Oh.
into a calculator.
okay,
So it's not,
that's too much work.
but then I'm guessing that some other person has a more technical way of getting, like, this is how much we get in a month. That would just be a request for me as the clerk. This.
Can you just think of, how about a sampling of years, like 2019, 2021, and
Right.
just to get just a sampling of years before and post pandemic?
There.
Okay, 2019, and it'll be part of the rep discussion, won't be its own new business or anything.
Okay.
And if you want to print out a copy of the property tax form for, just to distribute,
Yeah.
and print a copy of
Well, I
the,
think it's good for everyone to have in hand a copy of, like, what are people filling out? that is making them give us or not give us money. This is the form that people are filling in.
And then if in the future, it'll be some sort of trend in the numbers, we see something and we have questions, maybe we can reach out to someone, they can explain what's going on. So, it may not be fair that people are being able to skirt legally.
I don't know, I'm not suggesting by any means that anyone is skirting.
Okay,
Yeah, I
yeah.
saw just another one, it was a November contract.
Okay.
Jeez.
And it closed in December, and they didn't record the deed until May. It sat on the lawyer's desk or something.
Okay,
Yes,
That's known to happen.
I'm not by any means suggesting that anyone is skirting, and by questioning it, it's not meaning that I'm distrusting
No,
it.
no.
It's just-
I'm just trying to keep everyone focused.
I think over time, you're gonna see these pre-December 15th sales drop out,
Mhm.
Right,
and you won't see this as much. But we're still getting them.
Okay, so first,
to note of relevance, I will not physically be here for the July meeting, I will be online.
we'll be online, okay.
Yep, so I'll be managing the whole thing remotely, but I will get one of you the copies that you will need. Or I'll have them made available in the room or something.
I can pick them up well, I can pick them up maybe like the day or Kevin, if you're here a lot. Like the day before, 2 days before, and then I can bring them
There's
here.
an average, unless it's substantially before, but we'll figure it out.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Or you could email it, and we could print it.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Something will work.
2019, 2021 in the normal red X
Yes.
spreadsheet. For the next meeting, Kara should be back and we can begin the parcel prioritization. Basically, it'll look like, well, we should have maps on the table and start to have lists of parcels that, we believe, are good candidates for being recommended for funding for whatever project. And, that will allow us, starting in the fall, to bring in different organizations. And then we can start to really talk specifics from the get-go. So that's the hope there. So August, a lot of us are on vacation. So September, we can revisit Gloucester, Pioneer Valley, and then we'll start to see copies of this application or pre-application again. Go up on the plan.
Can I ask a question? It may have been something that happened at the last meeting, but how does already looking at prioritized parcels match up with what we were talking about with Kevin about the fact that we may have 2.5 years before we can disperse funds?
Well, it's because we want to be able to bring in certain organizations that we know are going to apply.
Okay.
And now we can talk about parcels that we feel that are maybe not as controversial. They're really well suited for the funding. They're not near other parks, but they're having ecological value. Put in the maps, and we'll see if what we have in mind dovetails with what these is like. So, in a sense, that we're helping solicit interest in applications when it's time to distribute. And then that application will be out there for people just to download it.
And acquisitions take a very long time.
Okay.
I think starting, 2 years in advance
It's not
reasonable.
Okay.
I also think your findings on these other cities is also going to help inform what parcels we end up prioritizing. I'm curious to know what we learned from.
Yeah.
Eli, did you stumble across a state match at all in Massachusetts?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I thought I
Forgot to
saw
mention
that. Okay.
So
Make sure my-
the state matches what they bring in, so then
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again.
the state matches whatever percentage they chose, the state will match that. So whatever they get each year, they get a match from the state. So
That was part of the law when it was written.
Out of their just general budget?
yes,
So does this income reflect that?
yes. That is. It might not.
I know.
Yeah. I'll let me double check that with the. Wait.
So that means that their total revenue really from the taxes after that.
Maybe. Let me.
That's good job.
There was also something about, if you guys remember, I think when Kara, the other came,
Early.
there was another guest that we had that was talking about, laws that people are subject to, you know, different laws. And I think they came out at different time frames or something like that. You guys remember?
Yeah, like the Red Hook CPF is under different laws.
Right. So that's a curiosity. I mean, maybe that's
Yeah.
something, another layer we can go into at another time.
Yeah,
But looking at, I wonder if that's just subject to date, like the newer ones are all on one law and someone else is on a different one.
That's probably the case.
As opposed to like, because we're in New York and they're in Massachusetts, or because they're in a certain town, and subject to the law, and the cities aren't.
Ours is specific to Hudson Valley. Ours is the Hudson Valley Community Preservation Act. That's what applies in the city of Kingston. The one that from Red Hook was not Hudson Valley Community Preservation Act, it was some other one.
Yeah, it's like way before.
And I think the Massachusetts one are all, I would assume, all different than any of the New York ones.
I feel like the Massachusetts one was the state thing. I think it was maybe a law that came from the state.
Right. That also established this law.
That communities can opt in or not, and that would explain that to the state. And that would also explain why they have such a great centralized.
Yeah. Oh, because is this community preservation coalition a state,
I think so.
like state government?
I think so. I think that's what's happening.
State government under what department?
Yeah.
Just had it open. There. About. What tells about the plan, let me tell you about the coalition.
When did the act?
Not 2000, September 13th, 2000.
And that one specifically includes housing.
It includes housing.
Absolutely. It doesn't mention stores or anything like that, but it does housing, affordable housing. Outlined.
Twist.
Exactly.
We have 10 minutes, we have 10 minutes to go. I know you're looking at the Massachusetts page right now.
Yeah, we'll get back to that.
And are there any communications from, Kingston Land Trust relevant to this board or anything? Anyone want to give? No? Okay. And I gave my report for the future. The rest, about what we can expect next month and, when we come back in September.
Right, we get care of the parcels.
And I'll reach out to you. And, we will reach out to you, printouts for the next meeting. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn? Eli, is there a second?
Second.
Casey, raise your hand. Favor.
I
Unanimous. I want to say 9:20.
23.
9:20.